Hey guys, Michael here, co-founder of Studicata. Having worked with and helped over 1,000 students prepare for the bar exam, here are 5 keys to essay writing success on the bar exam. Starting with our first key, which is to know what your bar examiners are looking for, right? How can you write an essay if you don't know what the purpose is? What are you trying to demonstrate to the person grading your essay, which in this case is going to be some random bar examiner, right? What are you trying to show this person? Why should they give you a license? What are you trying to demonstrate from your writing to get that license to practice law? Seems like a hard question. No, not really. The bar examiners will tell you. If you go over to your jurisdiction's website, they're going to tell you exactly what they're looking for on the essay portion. They'll have a purpose section laid out somewhere and you can read it there. Promise you though, it's going to say something along the lines of they want to see your ability to identify issues, state rules, apply those rules to the fact patterns that they give you and come to logical conclusions, right? That's all that they want to see. Can you IRAC a hypothetical fact pattern? That's all the essay portion is. It's an IRAC drill. All you're trying to show them, nothing else. That's your first key. Keep it simple. When in doubt, stick to IRAC. Over and over, every single sentence you're writing should be going towards IRACing an essay. You're either identifying an issue, stating a rule, applying it, or coming to a conclusion. If you're doing anything else, you're in the weeds, you're wrong, you're losing points and time. Don't do it. Which takes us to our second key, similar along those lines, sticking to the basic IRACing, keeping it short, is to forget what you know from law school essay writing when you come to the bar exam. I see this mistake all the time. And especially if you're like me, when I was in law school, I wanted to write the best essay every time, right? It had to be perfect because it's so competitive in law school. You want A's, A's, A's. You want to be in the top 10% of your class. The only way you're going to be able to do that is to write perfect essays all the time. So that was my approach after graduating law school and coming into the bar exam, and I quickly learned that this is completely wrong, right? In law school, you're trying to wow your professor with the knowledge of the law. You're trying to show off in your essay. You're basically showboating. It's like, look how well I know the law. I know the legislative rationales, the public policy concerns, the historical implications, and all of this analysis. I know all the case law, blah, blah, blah. And you write these big, long, beautiful analysis. All of that is useless on the bar exam. Your bar examiner could give 2 craps about that, right? By the way, your bar examiner's only gonna spend like 10 to 15 minutes grading your essay. Not like your professor in law school who might spend hours and hours poring over, combing through your essay, trying to give you points, maybe even days at a time, coming back to and rereading essays. The bar examiner who's grading, who's deciding your fate, is gonna make that decision in 10 to 15 minutes. I mean, they are literally going to look down at it and quickly look for buzzwords. Is this person knowing what they're talking about? Are they IRACing? Is this organized and formatted well? Is it not? It's going to be quick decisions from them. They simply don't have the resources to pour into your essays like a law school professor might. So that's going to be key number 2. To a degree, forget what you know from law school when you go to write bar exam essays, which takes us to the third key, which is, again, related but a little bit different. You need to make it as easy as possible for your bar examiner to give you points. Again, remember, 10 to 15 minutes to grade each one of your essays. What do you think's gonna happen if your essay is just big, long chunks of, unbroken up text, right? They're not gonna wanna deal with that. They're not gonna parse through sentences trying to find points to give you. They don't have the time to do that. You have to format your essay and organize it in a manner that's gonna be very easy for them to grade and give you points. So you're gonna wanna use as many headers and subheaders, bold, all caps, as possible, right? You wanna make it so obvious to them what you're doing. You wanna lay out every step and make it bold, all caps, underline it, whatever. If you know there's a buzzword and you want them to see it, bold it, all caps it. Make it easy, headers, subheaders. Use the same transitional phrasing, right? They should know where you're going from the first word of each paragraph, right? You're starting each analysis with the issue is whether blank, right? Then you're going to state the rule. And then once you get past your rule statement, you use that magic word here, right? When you go and start a paragraph with here, it's an automatic signal to the bar examiner that you're starting your analysis. You want to run through that analysis and then come to a conclusion, right? With a conclusory term like in conclusion or ultimately or thus or therefore. You want to end with an obvious signal that you're coming to an end of the analysis. Using these transition words is crucial. Organizing, formatting, using the headers properly, all of that, if they can logically flow if they can follow the flow of your essay logically, it's going to be easy for them to give you points. And even if someone has a better analysis than you, if yours is easier to read, you've made it easier for them to give you points. The bar examiners are humans, they're not computers. You're going to get more points than the next guy. Whew. So that's our third key, make it easy for the bar examiners to give you points. Comes to our fourth key to essay success. This one's one of my favorites, one of the most important, the absolute must. You have to do the very first thing when you come to an essay question on the bar exam is to read the call of the question carefully, very, very carefully. When you see an essay, flip to the bottom, read the call of the question, reread it 2, 3, 4 times until you understand exactly what you're looking for in the fact pattern. Have to read the call of the question carefully. I see this mistake all the time. One of my favorite examples is the February 2011 bar exam contracts essay on the multi-state essay exam. You can go, I'll post a link in the description below this, but it's free on their website. You can go download that bar exam, the multi-state essay exam, February 2011, ncbx.org. You'll see it somewhere on there. Look around. There's a link in the description. But that bar exam question, I can't tell you how many times, if I think one of my students isn't reading cause of the question, I always assign that essay because it paints it out beautifully, right? It sets you up to fail if you're not reading the call of the question carefully. In short, it's a contracts essay and it's asking whether there was a breach of contract, and if there was a breach of contract, what remedies are available. And in the fact pattern, they set up what looks like a promissory estoppel issue, right? There's a big detrimental reliance happening. So what happens if you don't read the call of the question, students are so tempted to write promissory estoppel, right? They talk about it, and I've had, these essays where students are writing these beautiful promissory estoppel analysis. The problem is the call of the question is asking whether there was a breach of contract and what remedies are available if there's a breach of contract, which means you shouldn't be talking about promissory estoppel. That's going to get you 0 points. All that analysis, all that time you're spending on is completely wasted. Promissory estoppel is an alternative legal theory of enforcement, right? You have breach of contract, which is your traditional enforceable contract, and then you have all these alternative legal theories if breach of contract isn't available that the plaintiff can go after, right? And in the real world, if you're a lawyer, yeah, it's great, right? In that fact pattern, I always tell students, you're being a great lawyer here, but you're not being a good bar examinee, right? In the real world, you're not going to have calls of the question like this. There's not going to, you want to bring every possible action to advocate for your client. But you don't want to do that on the bar exam. You want to do exactly what they tell you to do. And if you want to see the best example of that, it's the February 2011 multi-state essay exam. Take that contracts portion and look it over. And if you're tempted to write about promissory estoppel after reading that, you'll understand how important reading that call of the question actually is. Finally, our fifth key to essay success on the bar exam is, again, related to all of this. When your time is up, move on. This is probably the biggest mistake. The single greatest mistake I see on the essay portion is not finishing. And it's tragic, unfortunate, because it's completely avoidable. A completely avoidable mistake. All you have to do is watch the clock, right? And don't ever go over. You get that snowball effect, right? You're going along, you're like, I'm only 5 minutes over on the first essay, right? Then you get to the second one, you're only 2 or 3 minutes over. You get to the third and you're only a couple minutes over again. That adds up. And by the time you get to the last essay, right, you only have like 2 or 3 minutes left and it's too late. And then you have to leave a whole essay blank, which is probably the worst thing that you can do on the essay portion. Remember, it's always better to leave an essay slightly unfinished than an entire essay blank. You leave an entire essay blank, if there's 6 essays, you're just giving away 1/6 of your essay portion. You're just handing the bar examiner 16.6, right? Percent repeating, yeah. 16.6 repeating, 16% and 2/3%. You're just giving away to them. You don't want to do that. Not the best strategy, not the best recipe if you want to pass the essay portion. Sorry, I've been droning on for a long time here. I'm going to get out, let you get back to studying with that, guys. That's your 5 keys. I wish you the absolute best in your bar preparation, and I'll see you in our next video.